Do judges in Mississippi even have to go to law school? I have to ask this question because I just saw a ruling so bad that I couldn't believe it came from a judge who went to law school. Now, don't get me wrong. In some rural parts of the country, people are allowed to be judges without ever having gone to law school. Even in places like New York, in upstate counties, you can be elected a judge and never have gone to law school. And that often causes problems because they'll do things that are unconstitutional, like put a defendant on trial and not give them a lawyer. But even those judges, I think, wouldn't make a mistake as horrible as this. So this judge, Crystal Wise Martin, well, she ordered a newspaper to take down an editorial because it hurt the feels of a city commissioner. So what happened here? The mayor and the city leaders held a meeting to raise taxes, and they didn't give the public or newspapers notice of this. The newspaper posted an editorial criticizing them. They went to this judge, Crystal Wise Martin, and asked her for an injunction to take this down. And she issued it. She issued an injunction to take it down. That's unheard of. Whoa. So this should remind you of a case that happened recently in Kansas, where a judge issued a search warrant and to seize the computers and newspapers, to seize the computers of a Kansas newspaper, and the chief of police there actually was charged with a felony. That's how bad this is. It's unheard of. So the First Amendment we take seriously in this country, at least, and this is not something that should be done. I had to look up if Mississippi allows non-lawyers to be judges because that's how bad this ruling is. And this is something that you will learn in first year of law school. When you take constitutional law, there's a famous case called New York Times v. Sullivan, which sets out, no prior restraint. And that was a case dealing with the Pentagon Papers. And in that case, even though it dealt with national security, the judge said, no, you can't stop them from printing it. And there's another case, there's a People versus Larry Flint, which they turned into a movie, and that set out a different standard for public officials. So you can't just sue because you got your feelings hurt, all right? If you're a public official, you're in the public eye, you have to suck it up, okay? Now, what they issued was worse because this wasn't a lawsuit. This was a temporary restraining order. And in a temporary restraining order, the bar is much higher because they went to this judge and she issued this temporary restraining order, ordered them to take down this editorial because it criticized the city council, and they weren't even there. They didn't have a chance to defend themselves. They didn't have to, say, Your Honor, Constitution says we have a right to print this. No, they had a hearing. She ordered this taken down without them even being at the hearing. And what she ordered was illegal also. It's against the First Amendment. A judge can't order this because it's not a crime, it's not a tort, it's not anything. There's nothing wrong with criticizing a government official. That's what the press is there for. It's to keep corrupt government officials honest. That's what it's there for. And when you print these editorials, if these people really feel aggrieved, they can sue them. But they don't have a case. And what do? They went to this judge and said, we're going to show up here without them, and we're going to have you issue a temporary restraining order and order them to take it down. This case is going to get overturned right now. It's going to, I'm sure, be a lot of trouble for this judge, for these city officials. I hope what happens to them is worse than what happens in Kansas City, where this police officer, the police chief of police, was arrested. And usually what gets you in trouble is not the actual thing, no matter how stupid it is covering it up. So in this case, the Kansas chief of police who executed this search warrant, when the newspaper got wind of this and there was this national uproar all over the country, he contacted some of the witnesses and told them to delete stuff off their phone. That's why he's under arrest, felony charge, hope he goes to jail. And with this case, they did something wrong. They did something stupid. I really thought this woman was not a judge who went to law school. I thought this was one of those rural counties where people don't have to go to law school. But it turns out she did actually go to law school. And in law school, constitutional law is required, and you would know this as a first-year law student. You shouldn't have forgotten it along the way to being a judge. unless she skipped class that day, unless this was not asked on the bar exam, I don't know how she would think this is okay. But anyway, keep an eye out for this. I'm sure this isn't the last we'll hear of this story.